I always love like grooving to my little.
I know. I love that song.
That
It's like,
nice.
Smooth jazz.
I think I always miss the very beginning part, so that was a nice surprise.
Well, and that was put together by our lovely Emily Olaf. So we all know and love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great job, Emily.
Yeah, and her the sound cue is from a composer friend of hers out in California. So shout out to him.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, I know. I have my own theme song. It's so anyway, good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. So wonderful to be joined this morning by my friends and colleagues and amazing entrepreneurs, sister CEOs, Alicia and Lucia of Lace Photo Media. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Leadership Live, ladies.
Thank
you
you
for having us.
And so, Lucia, you are not too far away from where I am in the Hudson Valley. Are you in Gardner this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gardner, New York. And Alicia, you are coming from?
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Ooh, it's very, very fancy.
Yeah. Good weekend for beachside.
Definitely.
Yeah, how's the weather there?
Oh, it's amazing. It's like perfect summer weather.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's nice here too, actually. All right. So this morning, what's wonderful about you all, other than you have this amazing high-level brand studio and you are incredibly talented and luminous and smart and powerful women in your own right, individually and collectively, you've created this amazing enterprise called Lace Photo Media. And you have this unique approach as sister CEOs. So rather than tee that up too much more, I'm going to just offer the floor to you all and tell us a little bit about you, how you kind of came together with that idea and how you created this amazing company.
Thank you for that awesome intro.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
Do you want me to kick off, Lou?
Sure.
Okay, so Lucia and I were both working in corporate jobs. I was actually in the architecture field, so doing a lot of design with that and branding buildings and doing those pitches and those projects, which tend to take a year to 5 years plus. So it's a long, grueling process. And I was working for a corporate firm, which was like my dream job in quotations. And that's Lucia's grandfather clock. And so I was working for this corporate firm. It was my dream job out of grad school. And it was one of those moments where it was just like taking up my entire life. It was crazy work hours, crazy expectations. Like the expectation is a 24/7 availability. And just like the expectation that you're in the office for so long and all this. So it was definitely taking a toll on life in general. And there was a moment where I was in a meeting with one of the partners, and of course, like growing up, I was like, I want to be a partner in a firm. Like, you know, you have this like vision from a movie you've probably seen, and you're working so hard for that. And he was kind of like, had this moment where he like was telling us all of this bureaucratic semantics of who we had to present this project to. It was like this crazy process. And he had this moment where he was like, this is why my wife hates me, because I can remember all this crap, but I can't remember my own kid's birthday. And I was like, that was just like the cherry on top of like a long list of like crazy things. And I was just like, wow, that's the person I wanted to be. But like, that's the reality. And I was seeing this with a lot of leadership and people in those roles. So I stepped away from that, which was a really weird thing to do because, you know, you define yourself by that because it's your life at that point. Mm-hmm. And started working on small branding projects, and then moved back home around the same time to upstate New York and Gardner. And Lucia and I were at lunch, and she was describing, she's like, yeah, I'm going to start this, and I want to be working with photography. And she was explaining a lot of the same thing that I was doing a little bit when I was in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. which is where we were living prior. And it was just like this kismet moment where I was like, do you want to do this together? And she was like, I was going to ask you, but I didn't know if you'd want to. So it was just one of those moments where it just gelled and it was perfect timing. And I'll let Lucia tell her story, but it was perfect timing on her end too. And we got to kick off, and you never know what's going to happen when you kind of like put your signpost up, but kicked off really quickly. And we've been really lucky to have amazing clients and work with people in the community and in New York City and abroad. And so, Lucia, I'll hand the mic to you.
Yeah. So as Leash said, we were working crazy hours. I was working in the hospitality industry, which if you're in that industry, you're going to work crazy hours regardless. It's just you're usually working when people are sleeping, or so it was just around the clock because we didn't really have help, and I was kind of juggling a few different positions. Like 3 or 4 different positions. And so when my son was a baby, I was pulling sometimes 80-hour to 100-hour work weeks. And it was getting to the point I was just so exhausted. It didn't feel appreciated by any stretch. And it just, when the time came, and I was no longer there, I just felt like there's no way that I could work for someone else and be put under that sort of pressure again and miss out, most importantly, miss out on my son's babyhood, childhood, miss out on his life and those precious moments. So it was very kismet that day in the cafe where we were talking, and it's like, let's
Cafe Mia.
Yeah, Cafe Mia.
Oh yeah.
And the rest is history. I mean, at that time too, I had started getting involved in the local gardener association of businesses, kind of like a chamber of commerces that had been dormant for a little while. And so it was kind of that connection really helped us form relationships in the business in the beginning, and really showed us the importance of those sorts of groups, networking and having those relationships when you're forming your business. So that was very impactful for us too, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fun kind of magical moment story, right? One of those things where everything just sort of drops into place. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also great for people to hear the story in so many different aspects, because I mean, I'm pointing out both of you transitioned or switched from a more corporate and very kind of a high pressure environment, and you both had this aha moment in your own way, in your own time, of like, wait, this is not the person I really want to be. And for Alicia, it was like you sort of projecting into the future a little bit about the person you want to be. And Alicia, you had your baby right there. Your son is he 6 yet?
He's going to be 7 this year.
Oh my gosh. I miss a year because of COVID. Yeah. So Hudson and is having, all of those priorities hit you in those moments of clarity, right? And I think so much of our audience responds to that, and especially now during COVID, right? We've been talking about this a lot with a lot of different guests and my clients too. Like, we've had this, those of us who have the luxury of time and the luxury of reflection a little bit in the last 15 months or so. We're like, what are we really doing all this for? Like, what is my life really going to mean at the end of the day? If I'm looking back, I'm 80 or 90, and like, what did I actually do with all that time?
Yeah, and definitely when you're in it, you lose sight of why you're there and what's important. Because when I was in the thick of working, you're just so busy that you can't even stop to breathe and think like about the things that are important. You're just so in that zone and in that mode, and it's just like you just keep moving ahead, and until it's too late, and then you're like, what was I doing?
Yeah. And you're surrounded by people who are doing that and telling you that's normal. So it's like, just because it's normal doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Right. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean it's healthy, right?
Yeah.
Or it's such an interesting conundrum that so many people go through, especially people who are considering becoming solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, or maybe buying a business, they think taking that leap is really scary. And so, what a gift you all had in being able to kind of come together and do that. That's really awesome. Yeah,
it was amazing. And I would say too, like, and Lucia kind of mentioned this, that she was pouring all of her time into something that didn't feel appreciated or wasn't, you weren't building something for yourself. And I kind of felt that too. And that's the thing with entrepreneurship. I think sometimes people, and I'm sure you've experienced this, where you go from this position where you're putting in all these hours and like this kind of schedule, and then you kind of move those habits over to your business. And that's needed at some point when you're starting, because you need to have that kind of energy behind it.
Yeah.
But kind of relearning habits. But then you also have the satisfaction, even though you're putting in all this time, you're building it for something that is kind of like your baby. It's something that you own, that you can nurture, versus just kind of pouring into something that's an empty well.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit. I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit too, because you both are very generous in your work and in the way you approach your work. So tell us a little bit about the way you are envisioning your position as an organization in terms of service and social impact. Because I know you do a lot of very high-end work, and that affords some space to do some other things too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So one of the first initiatives that we sort of ran with was this event in Gardner, in our hometown. I know we keep referring to Gardner, to kind of bring awareness to the community, the crafts community there. It was a 1 mile walk, and also, basically to what there is in Gardner, because it was such a large span. So it spanned the rail trail, it spanned Station Square right in the center of town. It started at the Gardner Library, which is a nonprofit, and then ended at one of the breweries along the rail trail. And all along the way, there was crafters, makers, and mostly local to the Gardner area. We were trying to be really specific and thoughtful about who we had at the event. And so it was a free event to the community, and just something that was a big labor of love. We did it for 3 years, right, Leash?
Yeah, we did it last year.
Yeah, obviously not last year, but it really impacted the businesses that were part of it, and as far as being seen. We set up a scholarship every year, or a fund every year that was to charity or nonprofit of choice. And sometimes we would pick a few and donate a portion of the proceeds and raffles and things like that to that. So that was kind of one of the first things that we started, and it was almost right in line when we started the business. That was one of the first things that we said, okay, let's start thinking about this and working on giving back. So that was, I would say, like one of the beginning branches. We also have done a lot of work with nonprofits and businesses that give back as part of their model. In addition to pro bono work for nonprofits that we support, and that's all for me.
Yeah, no, and it's great to be able to offer that, because like Lucia said, that was one of the first things we did in the business, is start that craft market walk, and to hear from the business owners to say, the impact it had on their business. Yes, that specific day from the previous year, but to hear from the vendors saying, this is the best event that I've ever done, and I've been doing events for like 10 years plus. So that was just really rewarding. And I'd say that's a really big part of the reward that we get in this past year, especially, was helping businesses, especially locally, because web presence became such a big thing, especially for in-person shops. So just kind of being able to open up that space, and like Lucia said, do a lot of pro bono work. And last year was such a busy year because of that, because we're trying to help as many people as possible. So when a lot of people were like, oh, I have all this time on my hands, Lucia and I were like trying to catch our breath. But it was really rewarding to be able to see the direct impact on those businesses.
And one of the things I love so many things about the work you all do and the way you do it. And I think if I were to kind of wrap it up, it would be an intention. Like you just have such a clear, and I'm going to use the word gentle, but I don't mean that as,
No,
I mean it's a very strong and but gentle presence that you emit from each other and from, each of you do that just from your own person. But the energy you also emit from your business, it's just like you really present this clear, very strong, very defined, elegant, and this energy, which is just really lovely. And the intention behind everything you do really shines through. It's a very, it's a wonderful brand to interact with. And of course you all are wonderful to interact with too, but because it just feels good. Like it feels good to see your stuff. It feels good to hear you talk about it. It feels everything you do has this same sort of lovely, just kind of gracious touch. So, yeah. Including, by the way, I know, Lucia, you recently curated your background there. And I was, when you were off the camera from Alicia and I were talking before we went live about how lovely your background looks.
Oh, thank you.
I said it looks like one of those Zoom backgrounds.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about, because how long have you been doing this now? It's been a few years.
Right? 4.5 years now. So
okay, almost 5. Yeah,
almost 5 years, which is a big milestone. We celebrate our birthday every year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I do too, actually. So tell me a little bit about your, if I kind of wrap it up in the golden nugget. Like if you each had a golden nugget of wisdom to share from what you've learned so far, what would you, if you had someone in front of you who would like, tell me about business and tell me what I should know, and what would you want to offer? Alicia, I'll start with you.
I would say really valuing, and this is in life in general, but for business as well, really valuing relationships and treating people how you would want to be treated. And so valuing each client and treating them how we think of it like as a family member. How would we want our family member to be treated if they were bringing their business to someone? So really valuing those relationships, treating people like you would like to be treated, and just leading with integrity, because we don't do it for that purpose, but we've seen the value in the business because of that, because we have strong relationships with our clients. A lot of our clients are return clients, and then also word of mouth because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something, because, especially with social media, which we do social media management, so we see the value in that, yes, but if people get kind of wrapped up in all these things that you can do for your business. But it's like, if you really start with the relationships, that I think is the strongest foundation.
Yeah. Lucia, do you have something to add to that?
That was my nugget.
Well, you're in sync. That's good news.
No, I guess what I would add to that is just trying not to bite off more than you can chew as a business, making sure that the expectations that you're giving others are true to reality versus what you want and hope to achieve. And making that very clear, if you have a business partner, with your business partner together, and then with your clients as well. And also, if you can, start your business with a partner, because it's been amazing. Because Alicia and I, when we started the business, this wasn't like it was never a side hustle. Like we just went fully into the business, and we're just going to do this, and we're going to run with it, and we're going to take the leap. So doing that is very scary, and I can't imagine fully doing that on my own. Like having each other to talk to and work through everything together has been really impactful, and just being a support for one another and understanding with one another and being able to call each other and laugh or cry or whatever it might be. Usually we're not crying, it's usually we're laughing. So but that's been really, really impactful. And I guess that's part of when you form relationships, if you don't have that partner, you're forming relationships usually with other business professionals who are doing it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So having them to kind of bounce off of and connect with and share the ups and downs of being a business owner is really helpful too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, have that community in place for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm actually going to put you on the spot a little bit because I didn't ask you this question ahead of time, but and you can tell me no. That's okay too. But I am curious about if you have any any sort of specific anecdotes about working together as sisters and as partners, especially and remote. Like, what is sort of a not typical day exactly, but like if you could give us some sort of a picture of how you work together, how that partnership works, and what have you found that has been a successful, way of connecting and communicating, and what hasn't worked? You can also give us that too if you're up for it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a unique scenario because Alicia and I, when we were younger, I remember a specific memory where one of us was chasing the other with a knife. I don't know, it was a butter knife, but it was a knife.
You don't remember who was who?
What?
You don't remember who was who?
Neither of us can agree.
Yeah, we're we swear. But,
it was definitely you doing the chasing. No, we would fight like cats and dogs, so.
But so I never could have imagined at that point ever working together with Lucia on anything. Mm-hmm. But at this point in our lives, when we did come together, it's the dynamic is totally different. And because we know each other, even if we get on each other's nerves, it's like, well, this is my sister, she's my family, and we're gonna work through it. And uniquely, I think we are more understanding to our situations too, because we're family. And we just know each other so well and inside and out that in this case, in this scenario, I think that is very valuable. And it's actually very unique to get off the phone with your business partner and be like, all right, love you, see you tomorrow, or talk to you tomorrow. Aww. And the fact that we're farther away now, we're actually almost working together even more closely and talking to each other even more. There will be a day where I look at the phone and we were on for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Just talking through, everything.
Leave the phone on and just talk all day long. Is that
we just leave it on speakerphone as we're working? So sometimes we'll forget we're on the phone, and then I'm like, yeah, are you here?
Yeah. Was that a sneeze? Who was that?
Yeah, I'd say that's an amazing part of it. And I had a business a little while on my own, and it was very I found it to be lonely. So I was in a new city, so I didn't have so much of a community at that time. But working together is definitely such a special dynamic. Like Lucia said, we have, I think, grown our relationship too as we work together. And we were working side by side in Gardner, New Paltz area the first 2 years. So we did have that kind of rhythm established. And like Lucia said, now day to day, we're on the phone so much with each other. And I'd say too, we just have an intuitiveness about our workflow, and we each have different strengths. So that's such a support too, because where I lack, she shines, and vice versa. So I think that is such a big thing, because instead of having to do it all on our own, we have someone to kind of encourage us or help pick up the slack or do something that's confusing to us and easy for them. Or so that's such a helpful thing.
Yeah, I must say I admire it so much, what you all do together, and I have entertained the idea of being partners with a couple different times just in the last 3 years of my business, and for various reasons it hasn't worked out. So I'm still kind of searching to see if anybody's out there who wants to partner with me. And maybe I'm sure that'll come eventually, but I think it's wonderful that you all have each other, and that it really is you just have such a unique and unified voice together. So it's just a really special thing that you've created. In these last few minutes, I opened with sort of an assumption that everybody knew what you all did, and I forgot to tell everybody what you did. So it says Lace Photo Media, but in these last few minutes, tell us about the services that you actually provide and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Because they should.
So we're a full service brand strategy and design firm, and we offer everything soup to nuts, from branding design with logo and like that full branding package, website design, photography, product, food, real estate photography, branding photography. A lot of times we'll offer those things as a package when we're doing website design, which is another service we offer. So that's really helpful for clients because it kind of provides a cohesive experience for them versus having to coordinate all these different aspects. And then social media management as well.
Did you discuss did you touch on the photography? I didn't catch.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can expound on it if you want.
Yeah, so we offer food and drink photography, product photography. Product photography could range from like a bottle of wine to a skincare item or whatever that might be. Real estate, and branded photo shoots, like lifestyle shoots for entrepreneurs.
And I've had the very good pleasure of working with you all on my website in the last fall. It was such a lovely experience all the way through. You all did some social media for me. I almost forgot about that a couple of years ago when I was first starting as well, which was awesome. Everyone was like, "Who's doing your social media? It's amazing." And I was like, "Well, yes, photo media is doing it." And so you guys just offer a wonderful service and wonderful experience, which I think is equally, if not more important. And there's lots of people who do this kind of work, right? But the experience of working with you all is such a joy, and it really just makes it really fun to do the work. So
that's awesome to hear. It's really encouraging for us.
Well, so we are coming to the end here, and what I would like to do now is just invite everybody to visit your website. So it's lacephotomedia.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, I'm still having my snafu with my comments, which I'm going to figure out eventually, but you can always drop them in the comments on my personal profile on Master of One Coaching, or on YouTube, and I can circle back, or we can all circle back together. If you have questions for Alicia and Lucia, and if you want to reach out to them about their products and services. And any last thoughts before we wrap up, ladies?
It was great working with you as a client too. You were a pleasure to work with.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And it was great being here today. It was so fun chatting.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. If you are interested in learning more about leadership and Master of One Coaching, you can visit masterofonecoaching.com. Get your free leadership 7-day journal there. Sign up for the newsletter. And you can also book a discovery call and find out what your leadership can look for you in your life and in your business. So have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the holiday, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Mara.